this is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Matador Pocket Blanket Mini, which I've been testing for the past month. Let's dive in. So just to kick things off, I wanted to show you guys kind of a comparison of the size here. This is my iPhone 11 in a case, and this is the Pocket Blanket Mini. So you can see really how small it is, and even in my palm there, like I can really just grab onto it. It really is a nice size. It really is palmable. You know, you can keep it in your pocket, and it's not super, obtrusive or anything like that, or slide it into a day pack, a sling, whatever you need to do. And it just is a good size for carrying, especially if it's just you or you and a partner. So I'll slide my phone out of the way here. And we'll start with actually the exterior of this thing. The case, or the stuff sack, whatever you like to call it, is actually made from mesh. And I think that that's really important for this thing, because the main use for this little blanket is to keep you dry or keep the mud off you or whatever. So whatever you're using it for, it's gonna come into contact with moisture, whether that be from dew on the grass or from mud, like the water that's in mud or something like that. So once you're done and you fold it up, roll it up, however you're gonna do it, and you stuff it back in here, if this was a water impermeable stuff sack, there's just going to be a lot of grossness going on inside there. So because this is mesh and it does, the air can get in there, I'm not saying it's going to dry perfectly, like all that, any moisture that's in there, but it's going to let that airflow get in and out, and you're not going to get super mildewy or smelly or gross or anything like that, so long as you take care of it, within a few days of when you stuff it in there. And I think it looks really nice too. It's got a nice kind of almost like sporty look to it, and it gives the a little bit of a stretch, as you can see there. So just very happy with the stuff sack. And then you've obviously got the Matador logo and their little mantra there, put yourself out there. This is definitely something you would use, while you're out there. It's very small and very portable. So then you have the little Matador logo on that side, and this little paracord-like material, and this minimalist adjuster, so you can tighten this down. So I just stuffed that in there not long ago, so that's why it wasn't tightened. And I haven't had really any issues with this coming undone for the most part. If it gets knocked, it is pretty easy for it to come undone, but so long as you put it in a safe place where it's not gonna get knocked a lot, this isn't gonna come undone. And even if it does, it's not, I can shake it, like the blanket's not coming out of there really. Like you can see it's just starting a little tiny bit, but it's not going to unfurl to the point where the blanket's out and in your bag and getting a little bit of dew or whatever on your gear. So overall, very happy with the stuff sack and the adjuster on the top here. We'll open it up now so you can see the blanket. The side, with the Matador logo there, and we'll unfurl it all the way. There you go. So you can see the whole blanket. It's not, huge by any means, but one person can kind of sit comfortably on it. And if you have two people, you can kind of both get your butts on there, and that's about it. So it's really not like a lounging out and spreading out blanket. Like it's honestly smaller than like the bath towel you probably use at home, especially when you consider area, because it's, not very long. Probably maybe a little bit wider than the bath towel you use at home, or about the same width. But it's just for, a park bench, or if you want to sit on the ground and watch the sunset or something like that. You have enough room to, if it's just you can put your butt and your legs on it. Or if it's you and a partner or a friend or a family member, you guys can both kind of get your rear ends on there to keep them dry, because that's kind of the most important thing is, your shoes will keep your feet dry, and you want something to keep your pants dry. So this does a really good job at that. It's made from a really, really thin nylon. I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up there. It does almost like, you can't really see that from this, but it's almost, if you hold it up to a light source, it's almost kind of like acts like a softbox. Like that's how thin it is. The light really comes through. So it does a good job at keeping moisture out because it is nylon, but it doesn't do a great job with comfort. So if you're looking for comfort, this is really not the packable blanket for you. It's super thin, and it just really has that layer to keep water and stuff like that out. If you wanted to, you could bring another blanket to put on top of it to add comfort, but the reason I didn't really do that is because, again, this size is so small that you're gonna be tough to find a blanket that you can put on this nicely without it going over the edge and then your blanket's wet. So you could use, I mean, you could fold it up, or you could bring like a bath towel or use your bath towel and even fold that up a little bit so it's a little bit more comfortable. But if the surface below you is at all rocky, or you're kind of on like pavement or something like that, there really is no comfort added by this. It's just kind of like a layer between you and whatever it is you're sitting on. So each of these corners have a little loop here. So this one has this little clip, which I'll get to in a minute, but they all have this little loop here. So I'll show you on this one so you don't get confused by the clip. So they have this little loop here, and that's if you want to put a stake down so the blanket won't blow away or anything like that. There's no stakes included in this one, but if you're doing more outdoorsy activities and you have stakes anyway, it's nice to be able to stake this down so you don't have to worry about it blowing away, or if you're going to set some food on here or something, you don't want to have to worry about wind catching the blanket and then your food, you know, being spilled into the grass or the mud or whatever it might be. But overall, very happy with how this performed when you look at it through the, you know, a looking glass of keeping yourself dry. And we've had a lot of rain lately. It's, you know, spring in Michigan, so I tested it out just like sitting in the backyard and going to parks and stuff like that, and it, you know, kept me dry. Obviously, when I put the blanket back inside the stuff sack, it was a little bit wet, and so I'd have to dry it out at some other time. But I did notice after, you know, a day or two that it was mostly dry when I pulled it out of the stuff sack. There was still a little bit like stuck in the cracks and stuff like that, but overall very happy with how it performed. There is, obviously this is the mini, there is a larger one, a 3.0 that we have reviewed in the past, so you can check that out on our site. It is a bit bigger and you can fit more people on it, and it has those included stakes, so it's kind of like a Cadillac version of this like little Saturn blanket. So there's kind of something for everyone. There is, as you can see here, you might have been wondering what on earth is going on here, but this is a little guide to how to fold it up to get it to fit back inside the stuff sack here. So what you would do is you fold like this, and then you go in half again. You go in half again, and you basically just keep going in half until it's small enough to fit inside the sack. And you can see, as I did there, every so often I'll do a little push to get any air out of there. And you just kind of keep going and keep going. And then you have this nice little rectangle. You can see, obviously, how much smaller it is now than it was taking up this entire frame before. And then you can kind of just stuff it in this stuff sack. And that's a nice include, I think. But I'm going to be honest, I almost never did that. I almost always just kind of rolled it up and stuck it in there, because you can see how much I'm struggling to get this in there right now. I mean, maybe I didn't do a great job with the folding part, so I'll show you what I did most of the time, just so you can see a different way of doing it. So what I did is I just went one big fold, and then another fold, another fold, and then basically fold it until it's just a little bit shorter than the stuff sack. And then I just rolled it up. And I don't know if this is better. It just works better for me and for my hands. And I just think that that is a little bit easier to stuff inside the stuff sack. Watch it not work this time. The one time I'm showing you on camera. Here we go, nice and easy. That went in there. And then you just kind of lock it up, and it is stuffed. I should have showed you this before, but I forgot, so I'm going to show it to you now. One last thing. That little clip that I mentioned earlier, so there's this little clip here on one of the corners, which is right next to this loop I was talking about earlier, and there is a little clip in the bottom of the stuff sack. So if you are like me, and you often lose the stuff sack to things you buy, you can just clip this in, oh, wrong way. And now the stuff sack is attached, and you don't have to worry about losing it. I initially was like, what on earth is that? And I thought it was like you clipped it to keep the blanket in while it's in the stuff sack. But then I realized that that is just kind of silly, like, because it's not going to come out of the stuff sack. And it's just so that way when you're using the blanket, the stuff sack's not going to get lost. Which I think is a really nice include, especially for people like me who often, they'd be like, oh, I'm not going to lose that. And then a week later, this is who knows where, and you just have the blanket and you're wrapping it in rubber bands. So that include is really nice, especially if you are prone to losing stuff. like that. But like I said, overall, very happy with this. It's not for, you know, you're not going to fit a group of people on this blanket, and it's not one that's going to add a lot of comfort. But if you just want to keep yourself dry, especially if you're going somewhere where it rains a lot or it's like kind of like a super wet area, it's a nice thing to just keep in your sling, keep in your bag, or even keep in your pocket because it is small enough to do that. But there you have it, the Matador Pocket Blanket Mini. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.